Welcome to the Guide to Movies podcast with Joe and Sean. I am Joe. She is Agatha. It's been her all along.
It
Sean,
was Agatha all along. I love it. It's been in my head primarily because of you, so I won't forgive you, and also thank you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think what you're looking for is thank you, because it is a delightful song that received a trap remix that I was jamming out to all day while working. Is a sentence that I never thought I would say. So there's that, you know. We just got a little. I was sharing it on Facebook, and it started going like.
Oh, I thought it was
insidious.
I was like, whose horrible voice is that? And I realized it was me, and now I'm just gonna deal with that. That's a tough one for me. Tough look for me.
Tough hit.
It's a tough one.
Sean, what the hell's been going on? How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah.
We usually save this for the PSA at the end, but I was able to get the second shot. I spent the weekend in complete chills, and now I'm feeling fine, and I'm ready to pack a bag and move into the movie theater because that's all I'm doing for the rest of my life.
They're starting to reopen.
They're starting to reopen. You know, the one down the road is has been open the whole time, except for like the really thick of it, but which has been confusing to me. So maybe I'll start to catch movies, but also what movies are there? Very few.
Yeah, I was thinking like if they end up putting Snyder Cut in theaters, maybe that will be my first like foray into it. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Today, I actually completely missed the announcement that New York was going to allow, like, I think 25% occupancy, which the only reason I found out was because my AMC stock was like soaring today. And I'm like, what's going on? What did I miss? But hey, I'll take it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm ready.
I still have the debate of will it be Godzilla vs. Kong for me is the first one that I go see in theaters. Not because it's going to be good. It's not going to be good. But seeing that in my living room TV doesn't make any sense to me. And it's just like I'm going to see that for the stupid stuff that is only to be seen in the theaters. So I have that back and forth in my head, but it might just be an HBO Maxer.
Yeah, I totally agree. Some of the images that came out today from, I think, new TV spots for the film are just absolutely beautiful. And I'm very excited to see them. So, yeah, well, have you been watching anything?
I have been. And I think like, speaking of Godzilla vs. Kong, I watched the direct opposite of Godzilla vs. Kong in Nomadland. And we have a differing opinion about this, although I do sort of I agree with all of what you say about it. The movie is slow. It's deliberately a slow pace. Mm-hmm. There is not much of a plot, and this is where I get pretentious. Get ready, buckle up. The setting is kind of the plot, which sort of warps my brain a little bit, but a little bit makes sense. And I think the problem is there's no A to B for our lead character, Frances McDormand. Playing Fern. There's no A to B. There's nowhere she's trying to get to. There's no goal she's trying to get to. And that's a really tough movie to sell. And that could make a really tough sit. I'm sort of stunned that so many people like this movie, even though I love it. This isn't very popular. I'm not recommending this to my family and friends. Like I'll tell them this was my favorite, not my favorite, but like one of my favorite movies of the year. But this is a tough watch. It's a tough sit because there's just snippets of life, and they don't tell you anything about it. All of a sudden, she has a job here. All of a sudden, she's camping out here. They do not give you any sort of connection to the scenes unless you need to hear that. Frances McDormand is probably going to get nominated for an Oscar. Deservedly so. Possibly winning. Also deservedly so. She becomes this character. It's like truly magnificent. I haven't seen anything like it. It really, the movie itself, it's going to be interesting to see what, oh my goodness, Chloe Zhao does with the Eternals now, because how the hell is she going to make a Marvel movie? And I'm on board for however she's going to make it, because it's going to be very fascinating.
You completely just stole the words out of my mouth, because that's exactly what I was thinking watching this. It worries me a little bit because I'm very excited for that film. And she's perfect for this type of film. Nomadland is a beautiful film. I will not say it's not. Frances McDormand was fantastic in it. it's just exactly what you identified in not having an endpoint or like nothing. We weren't on like a character journey here. She kind of was just, nomading around. But it was a good film. It just didn't hold my attention the entire time. And I recognize that I'm not the target audience for them because everyone has those films that don't, or those genres, I should say, that they don't identify with or that they don't particularly enjoy. It's not that I don't enjoy them. It's just that sometimes I struggle with them, and I did struggle with this one. But I see why people like it.
Joe, we do make a terrific pair with this because you're definitely like, the fun DC guy that still loves other movies too. And I'm like this artsy fartsy loser that like just watches way too many Criterion Collection movies. And I'm just like, well, you got to see the it's more of a confirmation of the character than an exploration of that's my weirdness that I bring in. But it's one of those things where I would totally understand. I love the idea that this is on Hulu. I love the idea that people open Hulu, they see Frances McDormand's face and they're like, ooh, let me check that out. That's something that you wouldn't have seen if this came into theaters. Not to bash theaters. I want theaters back. I want to see everything in theaters. But that was something that like also sort of fascinated me.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm with you there. I don't really like that you just boiled me down to I like things go boom. No, I'm kidding.
I tried to tread my words carefully on that to say you also like good movies, and then that made it seem like DC movies aren't good movies. And then, sorry, sir.
sorry, sir. It will not happen again, sir. Well, speaking of, I did not watch a DC or Marvel movie for my film of the week, but I did watch Silk Road, which is actually a movie that I was very excited for, just because it's based on true events. They obviously, when you're watching this, they take a lot of liberty in dramatizing a lot of it. But it is based on, I believe it's the book Dead End on Silk Road, which is all about the online dark web marketplace that was created to sell drugs and then other things by a young guy. And in the film, he's played by Nick Robinson from Love, Simon. Who I love Nick Robinson. I don't know what it is. I just really enjoy him as an actor. And I thought he was pretty good in this. Alexandra Shipp is in it. Jason Clarke, who actually freaks me out. He's in it. The film's so-so. I mean, it's a solid 3 out of 5 for me just because it kept my attention. It was very fascinating. But there's some pieces that I could do without. Again, though, Nick Robinson is my absolute favorite. Alexandra Shipp, who was also in Love, Simon with Robinson, is in this as well. She's very good in it, but they didn't totally flesh out the characters the way I would have liked them to. I also, as much as I love based on true stories or based on a true story movies, I hate having to Google afterwards and be like, so what did they get right and what did they get wrong? Because it's just very frustrating. But I would recommend it. It's pretty solid. You learn some stuff about the dark web that will make you never want to use the internet again. But here we are.
I love that Nick Robinson is starting to get his due because I still haven't seen Love, Simon, which I know I need to get around to seeing. But he was also recently he was in A Teacher, the series The Teacher. Yes. And they have difficult roles to play everyone in that because they are playing themselves for a long amount of time. But he goes from high schooler to like 30-year-old. And, I don't know his actual age. I'm assuming somewhere in the middle. And it's like, but he portrays all of them accurately, effectively. It's really like a great performance from him. So he's got a lot of talent. I'm looking forward to seeing what else he does.
He's 25 years old.
Whoa.
And I always forget that he was in Jurassic World. I always forget that.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the divorced kids that don't matter. Holy crap.
There we go. So let's switch things around a little bit and just talk real quick about what's coming out this weekend. We have Minari hitting VOD, Cherry hitting theaters, Crisis hitting theaters. I believe that's the Armie Hammer movie. That's like everyone's like, The United States versus Billie Holiday is hitting Hulu, and then what everyone's waiting for, Tom and Jerry, is hitting HBO Max in theaters. So I will be watching it.
I'm going to see Tom and Jerry, man. Tom and Jerry is a beloved childhood cartoon for me. I love Tom and Jerry. My dad's name is Jerry. My uncle's name is Tom. So they I don't think they were named after it, but it's one of those things where it's like, this is just there's a lot for me there that.
I was about to have a lot of questions there. My dad's name is Jerry. My mom's name is Tom. I'm like, whoa, whoa.
I mean, hey, wasn't as common back then, but still, like, right on.
Well, speaking of common, it is common knowledge that you are not a fan of the Golden Globes, and we have them coming up this Sunday night. But why don't you talk to us a little bit about your column from this past week for Awards Watch with Sean?
Yes, so I was mulling over predicting the Golden Globes, and I just thought, you want to make plans, make God laugh. You want to try to predict the Golden Globes, make God howl into a heezing fit of thing, because it's just the most ridiculous thing to ever try to do. I instead went with going over one of the few categories I haven't gone over yet is Best Original Song. And how much I hate that as well. So I went through the possible choices, and they give an Oscar shortlist, and I don't like any of them. There's not a lot there that is great to have. I like one of the songs from Eurovision. I think the Wuhan Flu song is hysterical that it's on there. Then you think about it as a song. I mean, Sacha Baron Cohen almost died writing that song pretty much by getting attacked by a mob. But that would be an odd nomination. And then the rest of them are either, from movies you never heard of, which doesn't make them bad songs, but also where is that coming from? And also there is just a lot of, I think one of the titles are Stand Up, Raise Voice, Speak Now, see this. And it's just one of those things where there are commands of justice that needs to be happen. Probably social justice that I agree with, but at the same time, they're very basic songs.
Yeah.
One of my main issues is also, and this is just all the time with the Best Original Song, is the end credits song. It counts. So, Joe, do you remember the song from Trial of the Chicago 7 this year?
Absolutely not.
Of course you don't, because literally it is at the it shows up in the credits right after they tell you what to watch next on Netflix. So there's no way anyone's watching it. At least you'd hear the first few notes of the song if you were dumping your popcorn into a garbage on the way out of the theater. But no, there's no way you're hearing this. So there's something about the Best Original Song that needs an overhaul. But check out my column for more of my issues with it. It's at guidethemovies.com.
So I have a couple questions.
Go for it.
So my two that I think are going to make the run it's between these two. I think it is Husavik from Eurovision, and I think it is Turntables from All In, The Fight for Democracy, because that's Janelle Monáe, and that is a solid song. But I'm surprised that Ya Ya Ding Dong from Eurovision didn't get nominated.
Good sir, you're saying that with a laugh, but I loved that song. It was
played it 4 times.
And
now I want to watch that.
They were obsessed with it. I truly love that. I'd say that something like Husavik sounds great because it's a great win because it actually is a song that has to do with the movie. And that's really important. Obviously the Trial of Chicago 7 song doesn't have to do anything with the movie. It's just it's there. This one actually is almost a turning point in the movie. And it's a really good song too. I think the front runner is unfortunately the one, I believe it's called Speak Now, from
One Night in Miami.
Yeah, it's they got Leslie Odom Jr. there, so they love him. But I didn't even think about it. Janelle Monáe is another one that the Oscars love. They love her. So it could be one of those two, I think, or they could go nuts and do Eurovision. I hope Eurovision just at least gets in there because it would be lovely to see it there.
And this is only film songs, right? So Agatha All Along wouldn't qualify.
Agatha All Along wouldn't make it. Unfortunately, it would not make it. It
wasn't Agatha. All right, let's jump into some news. But you can catch Awards Watch with Sean every Monday on guidethemovies.com. This one's going to be a little delayed this upcoming week because Sean is going to have to digest, his favorite award show, the Golden Globes, which is
choke on the Golden Globes,
which is taking place 8 p.m. Eastern on Sunday evening. And it is hosted once again by the lovely Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. And they're doing it coast to coast, right? Isn't one in New York and the other's LA or something?
I think there's something like that. I heard that in an article, but didn't fully read it.
All right, so let's jump into some news, but I first want to start off with asking you, did you know that Tom Holland once auditioned for Star Wars?
I can't terribly be too surprised about this, but I did not know this, no.
Can you guess which character in The Force Awakens he auditioned for?
Okay. Well, oh God. Oscar Isaac's role? I can't remember his name.
Nope. He was going for John Boyega's role. He believes. He's not quite sure. But he's doing he was talking to Backstage, the podcast that I believe is with The Hollywood Reporter, if I'm not mistaken. And he obviously is doing some press on Cherry, which is coming out this week as well, or coming out in theaters this week, Apple TV in the future, as well as Chaos Walking, which is a movie with Daisy Ridley, ironically, that he that's been delayed for like 37 years. But this is what he said. I remember my audition for Star Wars. I was like 4 or 5 auditions in, and I think I was auditioning for John Boyega's role. I remember doing this scene with this lady, bless her, and she was just a drone. So I was doing all like this, we got to get back to the ship. And she was going, bleep, bloop, bloop, bleep, bloop. I just couldn't stop laughing. I found it so funny, and I felt really bad because she was trying really hard to be a convincing android or drone or whatever they're called. Yeah, I obviously didn't get the part. That wasn't my best moment. He is the most
wholesome. He's the most wholesome person in Hollywood. That's just unbelievable. That's an unbelievable story. Oh my God.
We should also draw reference to the fact that we believe that a Spider-Man 3 title is incoming. I will mention that Tom Holland shared earlier that the title is Spider-Man 3 Phone Home. But then his co-star Jacob, gonna butcher his last name because I don't remember it, said that it was Spider-Man Homewrecker, which I think is hilarious. There's a lot of funny tweets going around. Brandon from comicbook.com just tweeted, Spider-Man Sparky went home forever. Obviously playing off of everyone's fun part of Agatha all along. So that's probably coming. He is, like I said, Tom Holland is doing a lot of press for Cherry. I see that he's going to be on the Tonight Show with or whatever. Which one's the Tonight Show with? I said with Tom Holland, Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah.
He's on that tonight. So who knows if that's going to be something that's shared. A lot of times that happens. But anyway, I thought that was fun. But let's dive into some things. Have you seen the trailer for Mortal Kombat?
I watched the trailer for Mortal Kombat, and I loved the trailer for Mortal Kombat.
I was so pleasantly surprised by this that I just, first of all, when Sub-Zero freezes Scorpion's blood and turns it into a dagger, like that is a badass move.
Like what a move by them to put in a restricted trailer. Like that's brilliant. Because you put in a restricted trailer, which for those of you at home don't know, it's like an unrated trailer. It shows a lot of the violence in there and everything. And I think that shows this ain't going to be your mama's Mortal Kombat. Like, I think this like brings up like this is going to be like the video game, except the graphics are going to be a lot more realistic, and therefore you're going to get scared. And I think that like just to like have that image right there. Yeah, they do. They really do. Like it's pretty seamless.
Yeah, I'm really into
it. So Mortal Kombat. I'm not a child of video games. That's the one where it's literally the two fighters, and you select your fighters and you fight, right?
Yep,
that's what I figured. Okay, yep. Like so, I sort of know video games, but
I'm assuming that you haven't seen the original one.
I have not. No.
Oh dear Lord, you need to watch the original one because it is campy as all hell, but I love it. It's a good watch.
How when did it come out? Like when?
95.
Oh, okay, fun. A little 90s movie. That'll be good.
I mean, there's literally a scene where they're like where they're on this ship and you see the stars on a black curtain behind the ship waving a little bit. And there's another point where like the wall was clearly like styrofoam or something that they get thrown into. It's pretty funny. But no, this Mortal Kombat movie looks really good, and I'm pretty pumped for where they can go with it because there are a couple other characters that They haven't said officially or in the movie that if you're a Mortal Kombat fan, you can kind of see in some of the shots. And they also have this new character who's the lead, so to speak. So they're doing something new with it. It's kind of cool.
Well, that's a brilliant idea to have the lead being some sort of unknown new character, because that's sort of bringing in the person that's going to be the audience. It's going to be the person that's like, okay, who are all these other people? What's going on with all them? And I don't know if that's what they're doing with that character, but that might be the best way to go about. I also like the way they're handling this premise, because literally it's just like, this video game is two people fighting. So they sort of have like two sides based on the trailer. So they're doing something with it that puts it into a bit of a war battle type of situation. So I like that they're like putting some, I guess you could call them stakes to it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it seems like they're really placing a lot of it on Scorpion and Sub-Zero, who are two of the most popular Mortal Kombat characters. And they spend a lot of time with those characters in the trailer. But I think their battle or whatever's going on with them is really driving the movie. So interesting choice, but I'm looking forward to it. So HBO Max. All right. Let's move on to another HBO Max property that is coming out March 18th. That will be the 4-hour Snyder Cut. Vanity Fair has a really good interview with Zack Snyder. I sent it to you. You read it, correct?
Yeah, I was furious at you for telling me to read an article, because I'm an article title person only, and I very happy you sent this to me, because I really loved this. This put me in Zack Snyder's corner. This put me like rooting for Justice League the whole way through, and I'm now very excited for it.
I think it really frames the whole like push and everything that happened back in 2016, 2017 in a really mature way, instead of just the internet people are begging for a movie or being mean.
Well, it's one of those things where I didn't ever realize this when it came, like when Justice League was coming out. I knew Zack Snyder exited the film due to a personal tragedy. That wasn't exactly true. It was sort of, that was like the last straw. He was already having trouble with them. And then it was like, oh, Joss Whedon is there to do a couple of touch-ups. Also not true, apparently. He basically changed 75% of it, which is sort of stunning. I can't believe that was the case. I mean, not to say like anything like, hey, Joss Whedon's in charge, so he's doing all that stuff now, and then he's doing other shit that's worse. But he's changing the movie. That's, hey, he's in the chair now. But I just never realized that. They sort of formed a narrative that felt different. Like that it was just like, oh, he's in there, he's just airbrushing a few things, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And, so a couple of highlights, they do talk about the fact that Snyder and his wife, Deborah, who has been a producer with Snyder for quite a long time. They are now married. They walked away from the project, as you said, due to a lot of arguments and sort of infighting with WB. A lot of it born out of the fact that Batman versus Superman did not do what they thought it would do. So that's, of course, studios are going to be hands-on, but we've kind of seen WB step in with the DC properties time and time again. But Snyder's daughter, 20-year-old daughter, did pass away, and he wanted to focus the energy on the family and the home, which makes sense. We also learned that he has not seen the movie. I think I've read this before, but executive producer Christopher Nolan, who we all know, of course, savior of cinema, and his wife and his wife, producer Deborah Snyder, they watched the movie and said not to watch it because it would break his heart. Zack Snyder's Justice League will end with the words "for autumn," and he talks a lot about how he did come back to do this for his daughter in a lot of ways who passed, which is kind of, I was talking to my father about this, and I said it kind of makes sense. It's a piece that's still lingering out there, and I'm sure it's cathartic to be able to finish a project like that played such a big role in your life. And obviously it wasn't just a year of his life that he was developing this film. Like it's a major project that he had apparently been pitching back from before Man of Steel in 2013. So other tidbits, Jason Momoa originally was auditioning for Bruce Wayne, which, okay. This was interesting. Snyder originally pitched a romance between Bruce Wayne and Lois Lane that would lead to Wayne realizing that Superman needed to come back to save the world, and WB said no. Kind of okay with that one.
Yeah, this one makes me feel like this dude. I mean, he's making a 4-hour movie for us. This guy seems to want to have a series. He wants to like make a Justice League series, and then that would be kind of legit. I sort of love the idea of that happening.
Well, that's from the
I mean,
original. That's way back when.
no, you can't put that in a movie though. Like that's just, that would be one movie itself. Although it would be an interesting twist that this is a time where a lover of a guy who died then is now the lover of Ben Affleck, and in Pearl Harbor, Ben Affleck is the one that supposedly dies, and then Josh Hartnett becomes the love. Okay, there's a connection there. I'm not articulating it properly. No, okay,
That's a rough connection. That's a rough connection.
It's there. It's almost like okay. So it's an vengeance for Ben Affleck. I think that's okay.
Sure, we'll run with that. Some other things real quick is that Joss Whedon was not hand-selected by Snyder to take over, which had been reported. Snyder took his laptop when he quit the film, which had a rough cut of the film in black and white. When WB called to try to make it happen and finally said, like, hey, let's do the Snyder cut last year, they said, just release what you have. And he was like, no. Snyder believes that about $70 million was spent to make the Snyder cut happen. And he's not getting paid for the film, which I think is, I mean, it makes sense, but it's also kind of nice to see that it's a labor of love for him. And then there was a report that there is a quote unquote hero cameo that will blow hardcore fans' minds in the reshot ending of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Ryan Reynolds came out and said, like, no, it's not me. I'm not Green Lantern in the movie. And then there was a report today, I believe it was from Inverse, and they were saying that it's most likely going to be just the Martian Manhunter, which was supposed to be revealed in the movie as Harry Lennox's character. And we're just going to see it in the end as I think he originally intended, because Lennox did go back and do reshoots or a shot or whatever. So yeah, so there's a lot of news there. It is a good article. I do recommend reading it because it dives into some more of what happened behind the scenes of the film, but also Zack Snyder's life. I said to Sean afterwards that whether you like his movies or not, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. I think he's a cool dude. I think he's been through a lot, and I identify with sort of how he handles things.
I think it's really great, this article, because it really helps you, because, I was like superficial with him a lot of the time where I'm like, oh, he does the slow-mo too many times, or he's a director that starts to feel himself a little bit. And, I think some of that might be true. I think that this whole experience has humbled him, whether it be the personal tragedies, the professional tragedies, like the issues that he's had throughout this. And it really is something that like there's just more dimensions to him. And I really loved what I like read in this article. And I think this is like something that a lot of movie fans should read, because there's movie snobs like me out there that'll just dismiss Zack Snyder right away. And, like, okay, go ahead. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you could do what you want, but I think there's something more to what's going on here. I think there's a lot of people that scoff at the Snyder cut. They go for the internet bros that kept on doing hashtag release the Snyder cut. I think there's more to what's going on than a lot of people realize. Yeah. This movie still could be bad. Like, it still could be bad, sure, but there is a lot here. Like, this is a passion project for him, and I'm excited to see a director's passion project. And sometimes a director's passion project is actually a lot of times, sometimes that doesn't work out. So, but I want to see what he does, and I'm very curious to see it. And I think we should open ourselves up to it before scoffing at it. This is someone who scoffs at it all the time, by the way. Like, I scoff at everything, so just get ready like for that. But I am now open to this. I'm excited for this, and I'm really ready. I'm psyched. Let's open it. Let's watch it.
Well, I'm on board with that because, of course, I'm very excited for it. I'm also getting excited for Black Adam, which is the Dwayne Johnson-led DC film he's an anti-hero, really. So I'm excited to see that. We had learned that there were a number of castings earlier this year, or I guess it was, it was last year already. Whew. Man, time flies when you're trying to survive a pandemic. But we found out from the Hollywood Reporter today, and by today I mean it was earlier this week, that Aladdin star Marwan Kenzari, he played Jafar in Aladdin. He is on board to co-star in Black Adam, and the rumors are that he is the villain, but we don't know much about his character. What was your thoughts on his performance as Jafar back in the Aladdin live action movie?
I felt bad for him because he was woefully miscast. It just wasn't. He was this very young and attractive guy, which, hey, good for you. That's not Jafar. Jafar is this sinister, like, kind of. Granted, everyone's shapely, weird shapes in a Disney movie, but he's a sinister, a lot older. Literally in lines, he's older, but he didn't really have that sinister angle. And it was one of the weirder parts for it, but it's not his fault at all. And I think that he sort of did what he could with it. I love the idea. There's Black Adam casting news too. I mean, I thought that movie, we haven't heard from it since 2020. So
yeah, I'm with you there. I think that I liked him in the role, or would have liked him in the role if he was a little more sinister. I think he was too mild-mannered for Jafar. But I'm hopeful that if they bring him back for the sequel that I believe is still in development, when assuming that he plays the bad Jafar, Genie Jafar, that will be a little bit more of uncharted territory for him to play with. So,
has he been confirmed to be in the sequel?
No, they haven't confirmed anything about the sequel.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that he's back in it, but. I feel like they said it's going to be an original story, but it will probably take from the two straight to VHS. That's such a throwback. Straight to VHS films. But we'll see. I'm excited for it. I will watch it.
Oh God, yeah.
And I know our next story, you're going to watch these two. I'm going to watch these two, but I have a question about them after I share with you what they are. The first is Bad Trip. Bad Trip is a comedy. It's a hidden camera film I completely forgot about it, to be quite honest. I remember seeing it here and there last year, or seeing commercials. I think it was supposed to come out in April. But it follows two friends on a road trip pulling pranks, and it stars Eric Andrew, Lil Ray Howery, and Tiffany Haddish, which I love Tiffany Haddish, so obviously I'm in. Netflix has acquired this, and it will come out on March 26th. In addition to that, they've also acquired a movie called Worth. Worth stars Michael Keaton, and it's about the 9/11 Victims Fund. So, Victims Compensation Fund, I apologize. Amy Ryan, Stanley Tucci, and Tate Donovan are also in the film. It follows, so here's the tagline. Following the 2001 attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon, Congress appoints attorney Kenneth Feinberg, who is Keaton, to lead the September 11th Victim Compensation Fund. But how can he put a value on the lives lost? Caught between lawyers looking to sue and airline lobbies anxious to settle, Feinberg must broker a deal with the victims' families. When he locks horns with Charles Wolf, Stanley Tucci, great casting, by the way, as like for those two to go at it, a community organizer whose wife died in the towers, Feinberg begins to learn the human cost of the tragedy. This will release on Netflix September 10th. My question for you, Sean, twofold. One, interested in one, two, both, all, neither of these movies? And do you think lesser of films that are acquired or dumped on streaming like this?
So, interested in both is the first thing I'll say. Bad Trip, I will say I'm a little bit trepidatious, if you will. Oh, cool, a hidden camera prank show. This has been done a lot, and maybe Eric Andre knows how to push the envelope to an insane level, and I sort of love that. Like, the Eric Andre show is absolutely nuts and bonkers, and is sort of its own hidden prank show in a way, sort of like Between Two Ferns maybe used to be, or maybe is now. But there's something to it where I love the idea of that, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. The same with Worth, and you're absolutely right. Keaton and Tucci going at it. Tucci as a villain again. I don't think I've seen the Tooch Man as a villain in a while, and I want him to teach a lesson to Keaton and just like see what's up with that. I did it. I know. I'm sorry.
Did you write that down somewhere? Is that in your notes?
I have some Post-its, and I didn't though. That went, but I think that like actually is something that could be a really complicated movie and does have a great cast. So Now I'll answer your other question there, and it's that do we show the respect for the movies that are quote unquote dumped or acquired by Netflix, if you will? It's tricky because back in the day, yeah, they were. That means like, oh, they're on Netflix, like they're being moved to Netflix. They can't find anywhere else to go. And I'd say maybe even a year before the pandemic occurs, Netflix started to get clout. And these weren't made by Netflix. These two movies were not made by Netflix, but they were grabbed by Netflix. Netflix saw something in them, and Netflix is a big deal now. Netflix is a studio. Netflix is no longer a streaming service. Yeah, sure, we hit them up for streaming and stuff like that, but Netflix is a studio, and therefore, when they acquire something like Worth, we're like, oh, Netflix wants to do something with this.
And that's a heavy ass movie.
Yeah, like that's a heavy ass movie, but that's also saying that like they want to give up a Friday for Worth. They want to give up a Friday for Bad Trip. And they want to give up a Friday for these. I mean, I look at something like Apple TV Plus taking Coda, and I see that, oh, that's not being dumped on Apple TV Plus. They took it for, I can't remember the figure, I think 27 million, something insane like that. And they took the movie for that, and that wasn't being dumped. So it's tricky because back in the day, way back in the day, when a movie was on Netflix, it's like, oh god, this is literally a piece of shit. But then all of a sudden they started doing their original content, and it wasn't great. It was okay. Then they started getting nominated for Oscars. Then they got nominated for Best Picture a few times. They might win Best Picture. Granted, pandemic year asterisk, but they might win Best Picture this year. And so, like, now being on Netflix is, sure, stuff is created by Netflix. Oh, but Trial of Chicago 7 was acquired by Netflix. It was not originally made by Netflix. So that's something to keep in mind as well, that they are scooping things up, and Netflix wants to put this somewhere. And it probably maybe it cost them a pretty penny to do it. So that's something that could, I don't know the money that was involved, but.
Man, that one got you pretty lively.
Dude, when you asked me that question in the notes, I got a little bit I was a little bit revved up. Yeah.
So I agree with you. I think that just because a movie is going to streamers, I don't think that really undercuts the worth of a film or the strength of a film, because it's reality now, and streamers are up there with the bigger studios. So all on board with that. I'll watch both of them. Bad Trip, I'm not that excited about, but Worth is right up my alley as a true story, so I am looking forward to that. I do want to share, we keep talking about Spider-Man 3, that people have decoded that there is a casting call out for Spider-Man 3 that seemingly confirms that there will be a courtroom scene of some sort, which then would link up with the rumored appearance of Daredevil in the movie.
I was going to say She-Hulk. But...
well, that could be too. Who knows? But they are casting for a stenographer and attorneys. So I believe the November Project is the name that the project has been given, that Spider-Man 3 is given. It's what it goes by on the streets, if you will. So people are keeping an eye on that. But just saw that. Thought it was interesting. What's not interesting is that Paramount is remaking a film that was really well received 5 years ago at this point, in Train to Busan. It's getting an American remake at New Line Cinema. The studio is in talks with Timo Giganto, who is the helmer of The Night Comes for Us. He will direct. The original film was directed by Yan Sang-ho, and it followed a father and daughter on a train as a virus hits and turns people into zombies, one of which makes its way onto the train. James Wan is also producing this film. I will go on the record of saying I think this is a terrible idea right now. It is too soon, number one. And number two, Train to Busan was a very interesting, welcomed film over here. And by over here, I mean in the States, as a South Korean film. And we're seeing more and more examples of that. So I think we should distribute those films better instead of trying to remake them, because they never live up to the originals. Sean.
Train to Busan, Let the Right One In, Force Majeure are 3 examples, only 3 I have right off the top of my head, of exceptional foreign films that were remade in America and were terrible. They were Train to Busan, whatever that one's going to be now, Downhill, and also the right one in was Let Me In, which I heard Let Me In was not bad, but I'm still reeling against this. I could throw my chair across the room. I could scream, and pray to the God of the cinephiles, Ari Aster. But a part of me just says, okay, this is a business, and they saw that Train to Busan was popular, and they saw zombies on a train, and they saw we can make money off this. It's gross. I'm not justifying it, but that's how the game is played now. I will say that the reason Train to Busan is good is not because of zombies on a train. It's because of how it's made. And it was perfectly. I could not get over how well that movie was made. It was just like absolutely wondrous to watch. And they're going to Americanize it, and it's just not going to be the same style. It's not going to work the same way. Force Majeure had the same thing, where Downhill kind of sugarcoated the real deep issues with that movie, and they made it kind of funny. And instead, Force Majeure is a very, very, it's a comedy there a little bit, but it's a very dark, humorous movie. Let the Right One In is not just about little kid vampires. Let the Right One In has a lot of heavy themes to it, and a lot of like dark issues with toxic relationships. And Let Me In doesn't exactly have that same sort of chutzpah, if you will. And I think that this is a similar pattern, and it happens all the time. And I go see movies that are American remakes, and I love some of them. I do. Departed. The Departed is a great movie. I know some people like to clown on it. Departed is a great movie.
I love that movie.
It's a remake of Infernal Affairs, which is, I believe, from Hong Kong, I think. And it's one of those things where I really do. I just sort of struggle with this happening. And I understand that, it's a way to get, like you said, actually, you said it perfectly. Like, instead of, it's a way to get the art to America. But instead of doing that, just get the foreign film to America. And they already did that with Train to Busan, which was like #1 on Netflix for most of the pandemic. And boy, it's one of those things. Once again, I get it. Money. It's money. You want money. You're getting money. Zombies on a train gives you money. Like, okay, you're gonna make your money, but you're not gonna make your art. I'm sorry.
I also just hate how we see everyone trying to recreate the same shit all the time. And right now we're in like train world, right? Like we have Snowpiercer, which was obviously a television or a movie, and then developed into a television show, which is still going. And then now we're having this come out, the Train to Busan remake, or Americanized version. We have Bullet Train coming, which is that one with like Brad Pitt and everyone else in the in the filmmaking industry. It just seems like we're getting a lot of train movies. So I'm wondering what's next. We always get this, right? It's always like a cyclical thing where every studio tries to jump on the same type of film for the same feel. But it's frustrating.
Well, it's the popular thing to do. I think about Bad Trip, and I see that, and the Jackass movies were laughter. The Borat movies were laughter. Let's get Bad Trip in there. It's funny when regular people freak out about something, and you know what it is, but like, it's just one of those things where they're highlighting on that popularity and trying to milk it for what it's worth.
Yeah, I'm with you. If you're going to remake a movie or redevelop a movie, I do like there to be time in between said films. Such as The Next Story, which is Stephen King's 1982 sci-fi novel, which was The Running Man, developed into a film in 1987 that starred Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's now being remade at Paramount with Edgar Wright of Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, the Sparks Brothers documentary that premiered at Sundance, which was just acquired by Focus Features today. He's all over things. This is kind of a different movie for him, I think, in terms of sci-fi-ish. But the story, if you're not familiar with it, it takes place in a dystopian future where a desperate man enters a contest where he will be hunted to earn money to try to support his ailing daughter. This was around a time where there were like all these dystopian future films. It's also back like RoboCop time was a little after that probably. What's the other one I'm thinking with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Total Recall.
Rollerball was another one that was like kind of a competition also, yeah.
Yep. So there are, if you're going to remake something for today, I think sci-fi films are good films to remake because you have different graphics or different CGI, different abilities that you didn't have back then. And I'm into it. The Running Man is good. It's based on a story from a book, I should say. And every time that they develop a novel into a book, a novel into a book, a novel into a movie, there's always stuff left out, right? So I think that there's always more that you can go back in the source material and grab. So I'm looking forward to see what they do with this movie.
Yeah, I shamefully have not seen this movie. It's one of my another like a shame. It's on my queue kind of things where it's like eventually I'll get to this one. I love the idea of Edgar Wright adapting it though, because from what I've heard from the original, it is a bonkers movie with what seems like a fairly bonkers premise. And Edgar Wright kind of loves to have fun, and obviously, as we have seen, but I think he can handle bonkers. He can handle a little bit of ridiculousness, and he can sort of elevate it. I mean, I'm thinking about, his most recent film is Baby Driver, and I think I have a few issues with that movie, but for the most part, it's absolute fun and like at times like the real silliness with the backdrop of something rather dark, which seems like exactly what The Running Man is. And so I think he's the perfect guy to sort of take on this project.
Yeah, totally with you there. I think it's kind of nice seeing him do a lot of different things. We don't get to see that from directors a lot. And I'm kind of looking forward to even this documentary that's coming out about this electronica duo that was, I think, really kind of quirky and absurd, but never bowed to pressures to, change their ways or anything and still have a following today. So I will say, because apparently this whole episode is going to be bound together by the through line of Spider-Man 3, Zendaya has now shared a title, or Zendaya, I should say. And she says that it's called Spider-Man Home Slice.
Now they're having fun, and I'm actually very happy about this. Now they're like, this is like good. Keep going with this stuff.
So now people are sharing. People are trying to dive into the color schemes because each of the colors of Spider-Man are different, and it's just what the internet does. So it sounds like a title is forthcoming. I'm sure we'll get it soon, but who knows?
They wouldn't be allowed to do this without there's something there where so they're having fun. The studio is just like, hey, do this, this is fun. Like there's something there where this is all being there's strings being pulled here.
Yes, and please head over to Guy at the Movies Instagram tonight or tomorrow morning, because I will be thinking of some stupid title to change it to. Looking forward to that. Sean, that was our lighter episode this week. It was transitionary week.
Lighter news, I mean, good stuff all around. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed a little lighter episode. We had some room to breathe. It was, as the way Will Smith would put it, just the two of us. That was his popular song, right? Just the two of us.
That was his popular song.
Yeah.
A couple other things. We'll cover these next week, but there's a story now that Zoe Saldana is reuniting with Frank E. Flowers, who I believe directed her in
Colombiana?
Haven. Movie, Haven. But she's going to star in a pirate movie called Bluff that's been acquired by Netflix. And it's set in the Cayman Islands during the 1800s.
Oh, so old pirates.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I'm into that. But yeah, we'll discuss all that fun news next week. Tune in for that. We talked about new releases. Sean, out of that list, what are you most looking forward to? Cherry, Crisis, Minari, Billie Holiday, Tom and Jerry.
Well, so Cherry's theaters, so I don't know if I'm going to rock that one. I'm bummed it's not Apple TV as well.
A couple weeks later.
I believe also, I forgot to add this to it. Is it this weekend? It might not be this weekend, but I'm very excited to see the Billie Eilish documentary. Weirdly excited to see it.
I forgot about that.
Which is also on Apple TV Plus. I don't know if it's this weekend or not. I think I'm going to be most fascinated by the United States versus Billie Holiday, because the story of Billie Holiday is horrific and tragic and like just like absolutely like terrible. And this is Lee Daniels, and there's not a lot of clout getting like this one's getting a lot of disrespect from the early reviews, and so I'm curious to see like how they screwed it up. What's going on with Lee Daniels? Like, is he like what's he as a director? Because he nailed it on Precious, and then all of a sudden like he just like he's kind of spiraled down since then. And I'm curious to see what he's like sort of doing with all of that. But and then also I'm very excited to see Tom and Jerry for the obvious reasons we mentioned of nostalgia, and hopefully that can capture some of it. I know it won't, but I hope it does.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I was surprised to see that Billie Holiday is not being rated so well. I'm actually going to watch that tonight or tomorrow, so I will let you know.
Keep me posted.
Just a few comments here. One movie that I'm dying to see. This is one of our commenters saying The Orient Express, Murder on the Orient Express.
The sequel. The Jewel of the Nile.
Jewel of the Nile, that's right. Which I didn't really care for the first one, but whatever. We'll see.
I didn't see the first one, but I saw the original, and I sort of loved that. So maybe I'll check out the first one and then check out Jewel of the Nile, because it's just like they're doing the same exact thing. 1 million people in it, 1 million stars, and just to see what's going on with that one, which will be on HBO Max as well.
It's true. It's true. And then the final comment is from my father saying, I don't understand WandaVision. So there we are. I have spent hours explaining it to him.
This is where you have to go with the overarching thing, where it's just like, when people were like dissecting Lost, I was like, guys, the island's magic. The island's magic. Just do island's magic. So when it comes to WandaVision, it's like, wait, how is that person? I'm like, Westview's magic. Westview's magic. Who cares? Like, we got like just Westview's magic.
And that's actually what's really funny about it, is because my dad loved Lost, as I did. And he said like his favorite part of it was at the end of every episode, you'd be like, what the fuck was that? And like, that's pretty much what WandaVision is in a lot of ways. You're like, what the hell is going on? So I don't know, but it is very different from any Marvel project that we've seen so far. But I do have a firm belief that we're about to get a lot of answers, and it's going to open it up and set the stage for what's to come. Agatha all along.
Agatha, baby. It's all Agatha. That's the answers.
Sean, where can people find you?
People can find me at Math Teacher Movies on Instagram. I do Monologue Mondays, What the Oscars Got Wrong Wednesdays, Final Shot Fridays, and I review movies of young and old, and I review TV shows of, well, pretty much just young. Also, I do a Oscar column that is Awards Watch on guyatthemovies.com. Also, this Thursday, this might be my most exciting thing ever. This Thursday, I'm going to be on the Silver Screen podcast, interviewing, oh no, I can't remember his name, David France. David France, the director of Welcome to Chechnya.
Oh, man.
A documentary that is probably, almost certainly, and damn well better be nominated for an Oscar. It's on the Oscar shortlist. There's a lot of good documentaries this year. I'll be very surprised if it's left off. That one right there, that I have the questions. I probably will. You'll see me terrified wearing a tie. I think I am genuinely terrified for that one. It like that. I'm looking forward to that probably the most of I've never done an interview. Oh my God, Joe, I've never done an interview.
Just remember that the filmmakers are just as excited to talk to you. And I should also say that they've also done a ton of these. So it's kind of like, they know what you're going to ask. Don't worry about it.
When I ask what is film, it's not a good question. I should delete that question.
Yeah, I would skip forward a couple centuries. But when I interviewed David Raymond from Night Hunter, I was so nervous about it because it was the first time I was talking with a filmmaker, and then it was so low key and
that's awesome.
So just have fun with it. It's a lot of fun to talk with them, especially a documentary filmmaker who throws themselves into that. And Welcome to Chechnya is such a solid documentary.
Everyone watch Welcome to Chechnya as well. Oh my God, we all talked about it, but it's so good.
Yeah, it's very good. And you can find me at guyatthemovies.com for all your movie news and reviews on a regular basis. On Mondays, we have Awards Watch with Sean. On Wednesdays, we have Jaron Watches, which is a video review unique to GuyAtTheMovies.com every Wednesday, and then it goes live on his channel the following day. Thursdays and Sundays, you can catch box office predictions as well as box office review, box office results from the weekend, which is courtesy of BoxOfficeReport.com, as well as Darren's movie reviews, who is thank God for him, because he really puts a lot of time and energy into his WandaVision recaps every Friday, and they're very detailed and they're very good. So you can check them out every Friday afternoon. We try not to be, ahead of everyone watching it, so we drop it later afternoon so as not to spoil it. So yeah, check all that out. Guide to Movies on Instagram, Guide to Movies 1 on Twitter. Find me elsewhere. I'm playing with TikTok again, but I'll get bored with that in 3 days. So, follow if you would like. You can listen to us anywhere that you get your podcast. Please make sure that you are subscribing to the podcast, commenting, rating, any and all promotion or feedback helps. So please tell people about us, because we have fun and we think you do too. Sean, what should people do?
Okay, so I often come on here and say, please wear a mask. And now I say, please wear masks. Get the 2 masks going. When I heard it, I thought it was stupid. I had to hear it a million times, and then I had to see people doing it. Get the masks going. The best thing to do, I do the 2 surgical. Really, you should be doing a surgical and a cloth. All right, but the cloth on the top and stuff, it's not that bad. At first, you're like, oh, it's uncomfortable. And then 2 minutes go by and you're fine. Just like everything. Stop. Just wear the damn mask. I'm sick of this crap. And also, when it's your turn, get vaccinated. Connecticut announced their vaccination schedule, and pretty much we're going to almost get everyone by May, I hope. So that's pretty, stellar. So when it's your turn, please register to get vaccinated. I'm fine. I'm not a lizard person. I've got issues, but I've had those issues before the vaccine. So get the vaccine when you're supposed to get the vaccine. Wear 2 masks, and so we can go back to theaters. I want to go back to theaters and and also see my family. But go back to theaters. Yeah.
Well done. All for the theaters. That's where I want to go to.
Exactly.
Someone else just said Spider-Man homeowners insurance. And I think on that note, we can probably call it a day. Sean, we'll talk next week.
All right. See you, Joe.